Welcome to the opening line report for week number 4 here in the NFL. Week 3, also crazy. It's just been an insane year of NFL football. So let's try and get ahead of it here on Vegas Insider with the man who is the best in the business at this stuff, our man Patrick Everson. He's talking to all the books in Vegas. He has got all the info you need here to get an advantage for week 4 of the NFL season. Patrick, hello. How was your Sunday?
My Sunday was great. It was a lot of fun. You can't beat being here in Vegas on an NFL Sunday, bouncing around to the sports books. It's just the dynamic, the vibe. I was at 3 or 4 spots today. I was at Mandalay Bay. I was at Superbook. I was at South Point, which is way underrated. I think South Point is like the every man, every woman sports book. It's the blue collar sports book, and it's an awesome place. The vibe there is really good. So another good Sunday, and fortunately squeaked out a win. My Broncos did tonight, and I had Denver plus 1.5. That is about the ugliest way I've ever won a bet in my life. As you called it rightly before we counted down into the show tonight, a rock fight in the Mile High City. Honestly, I've seen rock fights that were prettier than that, but a very apt description. A great Sunday. It's just like I said, you just can't beat the vibe here at the books. It's if it's an NFL Sunday or a playoff weekend or March Madness, it's just, you can't beat it.
A vibe is about the only thing that would have been able to get me through that Sunday night football game. You needed that vibe to get through that just atrocity of an offensive performance. But you got to be feeling pretty good about your Broncos defense at this point. We'll talk more about the Broncos later in this broadcast. But let's get things going here. Week 4, we got the Bills 3-point favorites over the Ravens. The over-under at the moment is at 54. Patrick, this is a game that you have highlighted, that you have some info on. What should the people know about Buffalo heading to Baltimore? This is a sexy matchup in the AFC.
Oh, no question. It is a really good matchup. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. It's just a great matchup. Really, it's a shame that it's an early kickoff next Sunday. And that was one thing. I talked to John Murray every Sunday night, as we've noted in previous editions of the opening line report. He's the executive director at the Superbook. Always gives me really good intel on the opening numbers and kind of what's going on early, and then maybe what he anticipates will be the situation later on this week. And he said, we opened Bills -3, which was down a point from where they had the look-ahead number last week. So chipped into the Bills a little bit there. But he noted the Bills were missing a lot of guys on defense this week, still kept the Dolphins in check, probably should have won that game. Goal-to-go situations twice at the end, is that right? And could not punch it in. He said, we still have Buffalo as the best team in the NFL in their power ratings at the Superbook. But this is a game where they're going to have to monitor the injury report as well, as John pointed out. But he's still kind of surprised that that this is an early kick, and the no real early movement on this. I don't believe. I think they stuck at -3 tonight. Total 55 actually went down to 54, as you pointed out. It sounds like the consensus total at VI right now is 54.
So we saw Buffalo, they lose in Miami, but it was a fantastic game. And those two teams are going to be fighting at the top of the AFC East all season long. Miami's legit. I think it's safe to say
looks like it. Yep.
That Miami is a good football team. I feel comfortable saying that at this point, 3 weeks through the season. With that said, Baltimore looked freaking awesome in Foxborough today. And I know that we're not really all that high on the Patriots through 3 weeks here, but they had maybe their best game on both sides of the ball to contain Lamar for as long as they did, and then to do what they did offensively. I know that they had some interceptions late, but they were forcing some stuff. I don't know. I think that Baltimore, as a 3-point dog at home, is definitely worth taking a look at here while this number is at 3.
Yeah, I think that's, will the public get off the Bills bandwagon a little bit? I guess that's the question you have to kind of ask yourself, because if you think they're going to stay on, you might do better than 3. But the Ravens, they look good. Lamar Jackson is doing Lamar Jackson things. They had a 24-point second half in this game. I mean, and last week really they just spit the bit against Miami, but put up a ton of points. Both teams put up a ton of points in that game. Just Tagovailoa just had that ridiculous fourth quarter, an insane fourth quarter to rally Miami to the win. But again, as you point out, this is a great week 4 matchup, and you've got a couple of key games, one of which we're probably going to get to shortly, where you've got arguably 4 of the best quarterbacks in the league facing each other. And in this game, again, you got Allen and Lamar Jackson, and then obviously you got Chiefs and Bucks in the Sunday nighter next week with Mahomes against Brady right after we got Aaron Rodgers against Brady, although that wasn't terribly dynamic either, was it? That wasn't the rock fight that Denver San Fran was, but it wasn't a whole hell of a lot better.
It really wasn't. And I know injuries played a big factor in that, but still, I wanted a little more with the GOAT taking on the other guy that people call the GOAT, right? That was brutal. But another guy to keep an eye on with Baltimore, this guy Duvernay is just absolutely dynamic on the football field. So Baltimore, I'm thinking about that +3 looking at next Sunday.
I can understand it. I mean, getting 3 at home,
electric atmosphere too. They have a really, really nice home field advantage.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's gonna be really amped up for Buffalo coming to town. Buffalo is gonna have its hands full, no question. And and if Buffalo gets tripped up there, look, I think Buffalo is going to be fine long term, but they could very well find themselves at 2-2 after 4 games. So by not getting it done today.
Micah Hyde also out for the year for Buffalo, worth noting. All right, next up, you alluded to it, baby goat versus actual goat. Chiefs 2-point favorites in Tampa, the over-under at 47.5. Patrick, I mean, so many storylines heading into this one. I'm sure that there's going to be public money all over both of these teams. What do we have to talk about with the Super Bowl from a few years ago rematch here in Tampa? And that it happened on that field too, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Tampa got to play at home for that Super Bowl, right? And rolled 31-9. They were a 3-point underdog and just thumped Kansas City in that game. And I think you mentioned it's 2. It's 2.5 at the Superbook, which is where I get all my Sunday night information from. But that was off a 3 opener. John Murray said we opened Chiefs -3 and started taking Bucks +3 bets right away. So that led to the quick move to 2.5. Still at 2.5 as you and I speak late Sunday night. He said, I can't argue with how impressive Tampa has been defensively this season. Their offense has done nothing through 3 weeks, but their defense has kept them close enough to almost be 3-0 after today. If they get that 2-point conversion and push that to overtime against the Packers, you never know what's going to happen. He just noted, to your point about the injuries, they need to get healthy on offense and give Brady some help. He expects the public will be on the Chiefs. Marquee Sunday night game and a road favorite. He said the public loves those, so he thinks they're going to be firing on Kansas City. So if that's the case, although this is down to 2.5, you might want to sit tight on the Bucks and see if you can get that half point back, or who knows, maybe a little bit more.
So I was talking on the podcast with Morton Anderson last football season about Tom Brady losing back-to-back games. It basically hasn't happened in his entire career. I think it's something like less than 15 times in his entire football career.
Yep.
He has lost back-to-back games. It's a wild stat. I wish I had it in front of me at the moment, but you just can't count out Brady, man. I don't care how banged up your team is. I mean, you saw it today. There was 90 seconds left on the clock. They had to go 90 yards, and they did it because Tom Brady is a machine. So
yeah, he is.
It's going to be fun. The Chiefs have looked good this season. They had their comeuppance this week with they came into that game, I think at kickoff, they were 5-point favorites, 5.5.
Yep.
Against the Colts. Colts had their get right game. So it's just going to be a really, really fun matchup, regardless of who Tom Brady has around him, because that's what he does. He keeps it close. He doesn't lose back-to-backs.
Yeah, and I'll point out this real quickly, too. This total at the Superbook opened 47.5. The first move was down to 47. I would guess that was probably, maybe a little bit of sharp play right out of the gate with a nod to that Tampa Bay defense. I mean, they're not letting anybody score any points. The Packers get 14. What was it, 10 last week the Saints got, and then 3 the Bucks gave up in week 1. It's just a stifling defense, which is helping them hang around in all these games while their offense tries to get healthy.
So, and you have to imagine Mike Evans being back will be a big help as well. So let's talk about another game. 2 teams that have had very different seasons. The Miami Dolphins, who we spoke about earlier, they're on the road to take on the Cincinnati Bengals, who have seemingly righted the ship. I guess when you have a game against the Jets, it helps right the ship. They are 2.5-point favorites hosting Miami this upcoming Thursday here in week 4. And the over-under at 48.5. Patrick, what do we got for the opener for week 4?
Yeah, the Jets often tend to help a lot of teams right ships if their ships have been wronged. The Jets can help you get right, especially the Jets without their starting quarterback. But Miami out of the gate 3-0, straight up and against the spread. They had that huge rally we alluded to a few minutes ago in week 2 to beat Baltimore, and then really stuffed a Buffalo offense that was rolling. I mean, just really rolling through those first 2 weeks. The second half of that Rams game, they were just on fire, and then just torched Tennessee on Monday night in week 2. So that's a pretty impressive win for Miami. But we don't quite know the situation with Tua Tagovailoa yet. Obviously, he played the second half today. Now there's a bunch of controversy about whether he should have been in that game. Did he actually have a head injury, or does he have a back injury? What's going on there? And what John Murray said was they opened Bengals -2. He feels like this is a really tough spot for the Dolphins off the Bills win today and the incredible win over the Ravens a week ago. He said, now you got a short week and a road trip to Cincinnati. You noted the Bengals got right against the Jets, as you noted. The Jets help a lot of people get right, and he feels they are definitely better than their 1-2 record. He said that Cowboys game came down to the end, and the Bengals should have never lost their opener to the Steelers. I don't disagree with that. I mean, hats off to Pittsburgh for getting a win in that game, but Pittsburgh barely won in overtime when I believe since he had 5 turnovers and a missed extra point and I think 2 missed field goals. It just a very odd confluence of events that allowed Pittsburgh that still required Pittsburgh to go to overtime in order to get that win. So he thinks the public's going to be on Miami here, though. 3-0 straight up in ATS. But again, he knows it's a very tough spot. And he said the market has already ticked up to Bengals 2.5 from a 2 opener at the Superbook. 2.5 -120, in fact, on the Bengals.
If the Dolphins can win on Thursday, they are super legit, right? I mean, I think today was sort of the exclamation point on, okay, we get it. You guys are good. If they can do it on Thursday with Cincy at home, having had their get right game, and we know how good their offense is, man, that would be something. And especially if Tua is not playing, right? I mean, oh my God.
Yes, I mean, if Tua doesn't play and they win, that's huge. If Tua is okay, though, and can get them to a win on a Thursday, then you got, I haven't looked at the week 5 schedule yet, but you get the mini bye there. You get a couple of extra days and hopefully get him right. Either way, if he doesn't play, he's got extra time to get right. If he does play, even if if he has to tough it out, if it is a back thing, if it's a head thing, I don't know. I'm not sure they're going to let him play, but he has more time to get right either way for ahead of week 5. It would be huge if they get out 4-0. I'll tell you what, that's a tremendous start against if they get out 4-0, having faced a defending AFC champion, a Baltimore team that I think everybody agrees is a very good team. And then beating Buffalo, who is the consensus Super Bowl favorite. That's a hell of a 4-week run.
I would be very interested to see what would happen to the Bengals futures market if they were to start the season 1-3, because you have to imagine that those numbers would shoot up, right? Like the longer odds for the Super Bowl would occur for Cincy. And I'm curious where the money would go and where that number would land for the AFC championship as well. Because look, we know Cincinnati is talented. So if they start 1-3, I think people would still kind of be ready to back them and look for the value there in the futures market. So this game is going to tell us a lot about what the conference looks like here over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I can tell you already. I'm just looking at BetMGM real quick. There's probably you might be able to do a little better elsewhere, but I just happened to have it up on my screen. Bengals already at 25-1. If they go 1-3, that's going to slide a bit. And if you feel like, they can still make a run in the AFC North and compete with Baltimore at this point in the AFC North, you'll certainly be able to get yourself a nicer price than you could have at the beginning of the season. Although the Bengals were kind of flying under the radar a little bit, even at the beginning of the season. People kind of thinking I don't think they thought it was fluky. That was a great playoff run, but they just didn't feel like that was a team that was going to be able to do it again. But if you like them and feel like they can get it together, even if they should lose on Thursday, you're certainly going to get a pretty juicy number.
And it was a little fluky, let's be honest. I mean, they barely won some of those games, and they had the crazy comeback against Kansas City. It was a little fluky. They might have been ahead of schedule there in Cincinnati. But either way, that's going to be fun on Thursday. I hope Tua is healthy enough to play. If he is not, please don't put him out there. The guy has been awesome so far this season. Do not ruin this for us as football fans, even as a Patriots fan. And even with all of the obnoxious Finns honks that we work with, I have enjoyed watching Tua play. The weird lefty throw, it looks awesome in that teal uniform. I mean, it's just cool to see it, man. And I just don't ruin this for us, please. Okay, please.
Right. You gotta think when you're out to 3-0 and you've played pretty well for a couple of weeks. You got to think about the entirety of the season. So you want to make sure, especially on a short week, that he is really ready to go, because you don't want to risk, damaging more of your season than just 1 week. If you go to Cincy and get beat, there's no shame in losing to the defending AFC champs. To get your guy healthy, get back on, stay in that AFC East race, and just keep, try to get it back together for week 5.
Exactly. I think Mike McDaniel seems like a smart enough guy to have the long-term picture in play there. All right, let's talk about your Broncos. God, was it ugly, but man, their defense looked fantastic this season so far. Everyone came in excited about Russell Wilson, but that defense has looked championship level through the first few weeks. Granted, they've played the Seahawks, the Texans, and the Niners with their backup quarterback. So maybe it's been a little rose-colored glasses for Bronco fans with this defense. Regardless, it's looked good. They are in Las Vegas to take on the winless Raiders, who are 2-point favorites, the over-under at 45.5. So weird matchup all around here, right? Broncos have looked disappointing. Raiders are winless. They're at home, so I guess we're just going to give them the minus value here. Patrick, what the heck do we do with this game?
Well, it's a really good question. The Raiders are in a really bad spot. If they start, I think I saw a stat today that gives them like a teams that start 0-3 or if you're 0-3, you're looking at like a 2.5% chance of making the playoffs. If they go 0-4, man, things are going to get crazy here in town. I heard there was already some sort of closed door meeting with the coach today after today's game. So it's definitely an interesting game. I mean, the AFC West is going to be beating up on each other all season long. So really, this is as important for Denver. Well, maybe not quite as important for Denver, but it's pretty important for Denver. Really important for the Raiders. When you look at the expectation that the Chargers are going to get Herbert back to full health, and that team is going to be a lot better than it was today. I still can't believe that game. And that KC is obviously going to be fine as well. These two teams got to scratch out wins wherever they can if they want to just keep pace. So this game opened Raiders -1.5, and the Superbook, I'm not sure this is the case everywhere, but the Superbook, whenever a team is playing in the Sunday night game of the current week, they'll put the number up for that team's game for the subsequent week, but they'll take it down as soon as Sunday night kicks off. They won't go back up until Monday morning. So the Superbook opened the Raiders -1.5, took it down once the Niners-Broncos game kicked off. So it'll go back up tomorrow morning. It'll be interesting to see if they, if maybe the Raiders get a little more juice than 1.5. Maybe it's 2 or 2.5 after seeing the Broncos the defense, phenomenal. The offense, absolutely putrid except for one drive. So, but what John Murray noted, and this was pre-kickoff for the Broncos-Niners game tonight, he said the Raiders season is effectively over if they lose this game. No pressure, he jokes. Las Vegas once again lost a heartbreaker, and now they will be in desperation mode, no question. And as he noted, the Broncos aren't exactly playing well themselves. I guess we will need Denver in Nevada and the Raiders in Colorado. He says, he questioned that, and he's probably right. Denver's going to get plenty of. That's the neat thing about these. This expansion of sports betting, you get these regional biases that creep in, and they certainly creep in Colorado, and they've begun to creep in more and more here with the Raiders. But if the Raiders don't start winning, believe me, that bias is going to end pretty quickly. People aren't going to bet on a loser. But John said, look, I don't know what to make of this game. Both teams have to win. Total toss-up. The spread kind of indicates that. We'll see where the Superbook is tomorrow morning when they reopen or put this game back up on the board in the wake of the rock fight in Denver tonight.
So how do you feel about your Broncos as we sit here today, Patrick?
Oh, I love that defense. You can't. I mean, I agree with you that it's the first 3 weeks aren't the best lab test, but I think the Niners are a good team with a very good defense as well. Obviously, they kept Denver in check all night long. I mean, the Niners were in the NFC Championship game last year, and Jimmy G led that team to a Super Bowl, 3 seasons ago. So I think that is a reasonable test for Denver, much more so than the first 2 weeks. The problem is that offense can't do jack. It's ridiculous how bad they are. And Wilson is missing passes. He's throwing bad balls to open receivers. It's not as neat as everybody thought it would be. I still think he's an upgrade at quarterback to what Denver had, but in this division, you're going to have to show better than that. And the Raiders, like John said, they're going to be desperate. They got to win this week. So I don't necessarily feel good about Denver. I backed Denver this week because they are at home getting points against a team that I thought was good, but not great. I'm not touching Denver next week. I wouldn't bet Denver with your money next week.
Please don't. I need my money.
I won't. I gotcha.
The over-under for this one at 45, and our guy Juan on YouTube saying he's going with the over in the Denver Las Vegas game. So I think he's looking for Russell Wilson to kind of be like, hey, I'm Russell Wilson. Remember me? And he's looking for that Raiders offense to say, hey, we have Devontae Adams. Remember him? So yeah. We'll see if Juan can get that over win here on week 4's matchup here in the AFC West. This is the opening line report for week 4 of the NFL season. I'm TommyFreezePops. That is our guy, Patrick Everson, out in Las Vegas, our senior reporter for Vegas Insider. And we are happy that you guys are joining us here Sunday night after Sunday Night Football. We do this every Sunday after Sunday Night Football. We take a look at the upcoming week's lines, spreads, trends. Patrick checks in with the sports books, and he gives you all the best information in the business here. So thank you for joining us, and you're welcome in advance for the great information. Here we go. Rams at 49ers. We just saw the 49ers get beat there in Denver late. Jimmy G with the self-safety. Haven't seen that since Dan Orlovsky. So
oh my gosh.
Shout out to Jimmy G for getting made fun of on the internet for the rest of your life. They're 2.5-point favorites at the moment. That seems like a number that could change throughout the week. The over-under is at 46. Patrick, what should we know about this AFC West battle?
Well, this is another one that at the Superbook, because of their standard operating procedure, the Rams-Niners game came off the board once the Niners-Broncos game kicked off. So at that point, the Superbook was only at Niners 1.5, over under 46.5. No changes pre-kick. It'll go back up tomorrow morning. It sounds like it's up elsewhere, and you've got the Niners 2.5. I don't think the Niners are going to stay at 2.5 after that performance tonight. Granted, their defense is good as well, but 10 points, that's not going to sway a lot of people. I think that it'll be interesting in the morning to see where this number is as the Superbook reopens. And keep in mind, these two teams met in the NFC Championship game last season. The Rams won 20-17, but the Niners cashed as 3.5-point road underdogs. And what John Murray said is, hey, we opened San Francisco 1.5. And again, as I noted, closed the game when the Sunday night game started. He said, he pointed out just in general, I can't recall a week with this many good games. Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. This is the Monday night game, by the way. And even marquee games during the day on Sunday, a couple of which we've already touched on. He said, I'll be curious to see how they bet this one. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rams close as the favorite here, depending on how San Francisco looks tonight. Now, again, John Murray gave me his comments prior to the Niners-Broncos game. So I think that was pretty prescient on his part. A little foreshadowing, perhaps. I think it'll be interesting to see where the Superbook is at in the morning. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like down to pick or something like that, because obviously the Niners offense didn't show well tonight either. not really much better than Denver, or if they were better than Denver. Obviously they lost, but Denver's defense won that game. That's all you can say.
These two teams always play each other really, really tough. Those coaches are super competitive with each other. The two hot coaches on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL. And look, the Rams took care of business today against a Cardinals team that, ain't looking so hot through the first few weeks here. So it's going to be interesting to watch how that line moves throughout the week. I have to imagine that by the end of the week, we're going to see the Rams at like 3.5, right? I mean,
we might.
We're going to see that thing jump up a little bit here. So,
and keep in mind, I'll throw this in, the Niners left tackle got hurt in tonight's game, I believe on the play where Garoppolo backed his way out of the end zone on the safety there. So that's something to keep an eye on, because that did seem to be, a bit of Denver's defense was playing pretty darn good up until that point, but continued to excel the rest of the way. Had a couple of really big plays, had the sack on that last drive as the Niners were trying to get their last gasp there. That's an injury you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on, Niners left tackle.
Trent Williams, one of the better left tackles in the league, walking off the field, and he's a veteran too, and he's just still crushing it at an older age. But man, if it could go wrong, it did for San Francisco tonight in Denver, with Kyle Shanahan's dad watching up in the luxury boxes there at Mile High. So this is the line that I'm most interested in watching throughout the week, how it kind of shifts. So
I think it could be kind of like the Niners Broncos line this week. I mean, it was Denver 2.5 Sunday night, and pretty quickly it was 1.5 Niners, where it pretty much stuck most of the week. Monday, Tuesday at the latest at some spots. So, in fact, South Point, where I was just before kickoff for tonight's game, actually went to San Fran -2, and I think they closed San Fran -2. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this line does kind of a similar thing. San Fran, a short home favorite. The line flips to Rams, being a short road favorite. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And I agree with you. This is a line we're going to want to keep an eye on, and you're definitely want to keep an eye on the injury report this week as well.
And you guys can keep an eye on that on the Vegas Insider app throughout the week. If you guys don't have this thing, you got to go download it. It is fantastic. We have all of the best, up-to-date, easy to access odds for every major sport. You get odds, you get spreads, you get trends, you get the latest breaking news, all for free on the Vegas Insider app. It's available on the Apple Store. It's available on the Android Store. It is free. Go ahead and download it. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. All right, let's take a look at another game here. The Patriots are in Lambeau to take on the Packers. Packers, 8.5-point favorites at the moment. The over-under at 42. Mac Jones looked very injured at the end of that game. It's looking like it's going to be some sort of ankle injury of some type. I guess x-rays were negative, but probably going to be some sort of tendon injury. I mean, something happened in his leg, and it's good. We're going to see Brian Hoyer play for the Patriots at Lambeau Field next week. I could almost pencil it in now. It's going to happen. That's why you're seeing the Packers as such a heavy favorite here already a week out. Patrick, what do we think this line is going to look like throughout the week? What do you got for us?
Well, again, the Mac Jones situation, it's already been basically accounted for. John Murray at the Superbook said we opened Packers -7.5 and are monitoring Jones' situation, but we do not consider Jones to Brian Hoyer enough of a reason to leave the game off the board. They didn't take it down. He said, we simply moved the Packers up to 9.5, as you noted. And he said, for now, that's where we're at. And he said, we'll wait to hear more news on Mac Jones' status. The total did drop a tick. It opened 42.5 at the Superbook, down to 42. So that's a little bit of a reaction to the to New England potentially being shorthanded at QB, not having its starter on the field at Lambeau for a late afternoon Eastern kick, kind of a highlight game late next Sunday afternoon in the East Coast, and early afternoon here in the best time zone on CBS. It's that's tough for New England when you're already 1-2, you haven't covered in the game yet. I've got them. I believe they're 0-2-1 against the spread. And then you may not have if it's a high ankle sprain, like they're potentially saying something like that, he may not play it. If he doesn't play, and if New England ends up out of the gate at 1-3, when you've got Miami doing what it's doing, and Buffalo obviously is going to do what it's doing. Buffalo is a great team. New England could find itself dusted off pretty quickly here and not have a whole lot to look forward to in the coming weeks, coming months.
Yeah. I hope you listened to me and hammered that under for the Patriots before the season. And if you watched the Vegas Insider picnic before the season, all of our talent in-house was all over this under here. It's not looking good. The Mac Jones injury makes it look even worse. I'm smiling because it helps mask the pain. It's not been fun. But no one should feel bad for me. I'm a Patriots fan. We've had 20 years of success. I understand it. Yada, yada, yada. Woe is me here. So I think the Packers fully take care of business if Mac Jones misses this one, which it looks like he is almost certainly going to. So, Patrick, let's take a look at the Monday Night Football matchup here, which is happening tonight. It is Monday here on the East Coast, 12:06 Eastern. We have the Cowboys in New York to take on the Giants, who are currently 1-point favorites. The over-under is at 39.5. That's low, man. That's on the Vegas Insider consensus page. What are we looking at for tonight's NFC East battle? And can we please stop putting these games in prime time? I'm so sick of seeing the Cowboys and Giants play in prime time. It's so frustrating. I get it. I understand why you're doing it, TV networks, but none of us want this. Come on.
No, understood. Dallas, got to be feeling very fortunate to be at 1-1. And if they find a way to ride the Cooper Rush train to 2-1, then, Dak's going to be back probably, fairly soon. They were talking 4 weeks. They would be over the moon, I think, to be 2-1. It's two-way action. I'm looking at DraftKings numbers, literally to the minute. Giants -1 and 56% of spread bets and 56% of spread money on the Giants. So a lean toward the Giants, but not a huge lean. There's some Cowboys believers tomorrow night. So that's where we're at in that game. The total, a lean toward the over, not a huge lean, but 64% of bets, 62% of money on over. DraftKings is showing it at 39 right now, might be 39.5. It's low. I took on the Thursday night game this week. I think the total closed 37. I barely got there. I took the over. I was like, you're not talking me out of taking the over on 37. I might do the over 30. If I can still get 39, I'll check my apps after we get off, after we finish off the show here. And if I can get 39 still anywhere, I might take over 39 for a little bit of hashtag Chili's money and just hope there's a little bit of fun being had on Monday Night Football. But yeah, that is a low total. There were like 3-4 pretty low totals this week for sure.
So of the games we talked about for week 4 here, Patrick, which game are you most excited to dive into here? Is it the Bills at Ravens? Is it Chiefs at Bucks? Is it Dolphins at Bengals? Is it your Broncos in Las Vegas? I can guess you're probably not going to roll with that one. Or is it just to watch the line movement here with the NFC West battle between the Rams and the Niners? I called it the AFC West before. It was my bachelor party this weekend, Patrick. My brain is like half fuzzy at this point.
Cut him some slack.
Yeah.
Plus,
I got some water here. This is my Jordan flu game here. So Patrick,
he's getting married in a month, man. TommyFreezePops getting married in a month. So
I got to lock in.
He definitely, give him a little bit of grace late on the Sunday night. I'm happy to do that. I do think it will be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see what happens tomorrow morning with the with that. Trying to scroll over here and see if I can see the. Let me just see if I can push this over. I apologize. I want to look real quick and see what's going on at DraftKings with that Rams number, because I'm pretty sure it's up. So I'm curious what they've done. Just trying to scroll down and see if I can dig it up. And that, again, that's the Monday night game. They got Niners -2 right now at DraftKings. 54% of early bets on the Rams, but 81% of early money on the Niners. That's kind of interesting early on. I'm interested to see where this number is tomorrow morning. Definitely interested to see if the Superbook adjusts at all off of that Niners 1.5. I kind of don't see it going up, but I would say the game I'm most intrigued by. Look, obviously the Chiefs Bucks is a really interesting one. It's the first time these two teams have met, as we alluded to earlier in the show. The first time they've met since the Bucks rumbled over the Chiefs in the Super Bowl as 3-point dogs. But I'm more enthused, more interested in that Bills-Ravens game. I'm hoping that, Buffalo coming off a loss. You saw Ken Dorsey just have a complete meltdown in the coach's box, breaking stuff and everything.
Iconic moment. That is going to be the iconic moment of this week. Is that we will see that?
I hope there's a GIF. I hope there's a GIF.
Oh, it's going to be a GIF forever.
I expect there'll be something, and I intend to use it if there is. But what I wouldn't expect the Bills offense to struggle like that for 2 weeks in a row. The Ravens gave up a ton of look. The Ravens lost to the Dolphins, and then the Bills lost to the Dolphins. The Bills didn't give up nearly as many points, but the Dolphins put up points on the Ravens. The Ravens can score at a high rate. They've had a lot of points these last couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to this because I just want to see a flat-out shootout. Over-under on this game opened 55, and the first move was down to 54 at the Superbook. But I would guess people are going to be stacking up on the over as long as the weather's good. And I haven't really looked ahead to the weather this week. We're starting to get to that. We're getting into early October. You never know how things are going to go. But if they get nice fall football weather, I would think people are going to just punish the over. And I hope we see, a game that makes that worthwhile. I want to see a 36-30, 35-30, 34-31. I want to see something like that. I want to see these teams get after it because I think this could really be a preview of a potential playoff matchup.
Absolutely. Can I tell you about one game that I just think was disrespectful? When I saw this number, I was like, that's disrespectful.
All right, tell me.
Can we talk about the Jaguars being 7-point dogs going into Philly? And I know Philly has looked great, but the Jaguars have looked fantastic this season. And to do what they did in LA, to be 7-point dogs heading to Philly, I almost texted you earlier today and it was like, hey, can you check in on what is going on with this number here?
I have it in front of me.
I think this is a number that comes down during the week. I bet that the Eagles are like 4.5-point favorites by the time this thing kicks off. Come on, give the Jaguars some respect here, man.
That's a big jump. You might be right, but as you said, 7, a whole touchdown. But I will say, now look, this is very early. There is a very limited number of bets in the pot. I'm sure a very limited amount of money in the pot. But late Sunday night, this line's been up for several hours at multiple sports books. Currently at DraftKings, ticket count dead even, 50-50. Money, 53% on the road underdog Jaguars. 47% of money, early money on the Eagles laying 7 points. So there's some believers there. And there's even a little bit of a few people taking some flyers on the Jags plus 255 on the money line. 60% of bets are on the Eagles on the money line, laying that 305. But that's a not insignificant 40% of early tickets. And again, it could be a very limited number of tickets here, but 40% of early tickets taking that plus 255 with the Jags on the money line. Now, money-wise, the money is still translating much more heavily to the Eagles, about 2-1 in favor of the Eagles on money line dollars. But money line tickets, 60-40 split at this point, late Sunday night. So there's some people who think the Jags are really for real and that plus 255 looks mighty nice, on the money line for next Sunday's game in Philly.
I think Philly has looked great. Like through 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I am a full believer in what they have cooking there in Philadelphia. I think they could make a real run in the NFC, which is definitely the weaker conference. I think we can say that confidently at this point. So I get it, but I just want to give the Jags a little bit more respect than saying that they are a touchdown underdog to anybody at this point through what we've seen on tape this season. So give me that +7, please. I'm going to take advantage of that number while I still can. And another number that I just found funny when I saw it on paper, just seeing a -6 next to the Lions is just never going to feel normal to me, Patrick.
Whoa,
it's just
and I hadn't even really looked at that
going
yet.
to feel normal. If this thing opened, months ago, they were a 1-point favorite. and it's up to 6, man. That's big for Detroit. So that's another one that I'll be interested to see how that goes throughout the week. Because Seattle, yes, they're Seattle, and they're going through what they're going through up there, but they've been scrappy, right? I mean, look, they handed Denver a loss in week 1. 6-point favorites for Detroit. The Dan Campbell bump working its magic with this number as we sit here on early Monday morning here on the East Coast and late Sunday night for you, where things move over in Las Vegas. What's going on with this number here, Patrick? The over-under 48, by the way.
Definitely interesting. I'm trying to double check. The Lions did cover, right, today against the Vikes. Did they get the cover there?
Let me take a quick look here.
I'm blanking on the final number, so actually I can look it up myself right now because I'm having a brain cramp with so many games. Yeah, I mean they were. Oh no, that's next.
They did. They did cover. Yep.
So I mean, a decent showing. Maybe that is helping influence that, along with Seattle anticipated to not be very good. Look, again, I can't stress this enough. It's very early. There's like no money in the pot. All the money on NFL games comes in on the weekend. Most of the money comes in on day of game. For any particular game, most of the money will come in the last hour or two leading up to kickoff. But that said, at DraftKings right now, ticket count for 80% of early bets on the Lions, 95% of early money on the Lions, and they're even laying lines, money line minus 245, tickets 2-1, money 3-1 on the Lions. So there's certainly some early support, probably nominal. Again, I can't stress that enough. This is not something that you should take to the bank and say, oh, well, that's where everybody is early, I should be on it. It's very early, so it's I would still proceed with caution, but there's definitely some school of thought that the Lions will be ready on their home field next week and can cover almost a touchdown.
I am looking at this one between Arizona and Carolina. Carolina, a 1.5-point favorite at the moment with the over-under at 44. I think this is the get-right game for Arizona, and I know it's a road game. But I just feel like Kyler Murray and that team has too much talent to have as many losses through 4 weeks as they would if they were to lose in Carolina. I know Carolina has looked good at times this season. They took care of business today. But I think I'm blindly taking the plus 1.5 here. It's basically a pick 'em, right?
Right.
I think I'm going to go with the Cardinals on the money line here for Sunday.
Just even money or so. Yeah.
Yeah. I trust Kyler Murray and the talent in Arizona to be better than the Panthers. And I just don't trust the Panthers as a favorite. So, again, this is just me shooting from the hip. Mm-hmm. When I see this number, I'm like, Patrick, what do we got for this one here?
Well, you're shooting from the hip of those who think of the minority, I guess I should say. Took me a moment to figure that out late on a Sunday night. Because early on, again, very early, not a whole lot of money in the pot here, but 61 currently at DraftKings, 61% of early tickets, 91% of early money, nominal amount of both tickets and money, I'm sure, but still on Carolina at home here, maybe thinking, Baker Mayfield's got something to go for this coming week, and that maybe they're, the Panthers -1 on their home field represents some value of some sort. But there are, there's still almost 40% of tickets anyway on the Cardinals, just not a whole lot of early money on the Cardinals in the wake of what they've seen these last couple of weeks. And Arizona only putting up 12 points today. I don't think enthused Cardinals bettors at all. But you're right. You would think they're ready for a get right game if this team's going to get it together and compete with San Fran and with the Rams in the NFC West and try to find its way back to the playoffs. They got to start winning some games.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury's got to start winning.
Well, yeah, he's going to find himself
freaking job.
Exactly. He's going to find himself on the hot seat pretty quick.
100%. So one more quick one before we head out here, Patrick. The Titans in Indy taking care of business today. They're 3.5-point favorites at the moment with the over-under at 43.5. Titans looked good today, though, right? So I think these teams play each other really, really tough all the time. So this is going to be a really fun one. I'm on the Colts here early. I've been a backer of them throughout the offseason, so I kind of want to continue to water that take and bring that take along that Indy is good. But this should be a fun one in the AFC South. Anytime I can watch Derrick Henry play football, I have a good time.
Well, I think what's interesting about this is I don't think either of these two teams thought they were going to have to worry too much about Jacksonville this season, but they got to worry about Jacksonville right now. So this is a pretty important game, and early ticket count almost dead even on this, a slight nod to the Titans. This is literally in the minute at DraftKings right now, thanks to their awesome stats page that VSiN hosts, which is really cool. So ticket count almost dead even, but 84% of early money. Again, nominal amount, it's early money, but 84% of early money on the Colts, liking what they saw out of Indy today, getting the upset win at home against Kansas City, which is probably the consensus number 2 on the Super Bowl odds board. And I'm with you. I'm hoping that was the Colts get right game and they start really moving along, because I got a 25-1 ticket on the Colts that I did preseason on the Super Bowl odds. And I liked them, and I still kind of like them. I didn't like what I saw in weeks 1 and 2, but look, week 3 gives hope springs eternal after week 3, and if they can beat the Titans next week, they'll be in much better shape, and I'll definitely be liking that ticket a little bit more. See if they can continue to keep it together, because I do think the AFC South is there for the taking for whoever wants it. I just feel like the Colts should be that team, but maybe they aren't. Maybe it's the Jags here. Casey Degnan, behind the counter at the Superbook, he told me preseason that in a Super Bowl preview that I did for Vegas Insider back in August, he's like, the Jags are 100-1 to win the Super Bowl, and I can't believe that there's not at least some flyer tickets on them, because I really think that's going to be a better team in year 2, with Lawrence having a year to mature and a new head coach who really seems to know what the hell he's doing, and that's really been proven over these last couple of weeks. So, he was keen on the Jags a month ago, and I'm sure he's a lot more keen on them now. And I hope others were able to get on that bus.
One more for you guys here. Just a quick one from me on the way out. Chargers 6.5-point favorites at Houston. Houston's looked scrappy this year, man. And I know that LA has really good talent, but Herbert's banged up. I think I might be on the plus 6.5 here. Patrick, I don't know if you can tell, man, but I'm very much so a gut feel, shoot from the hip type of guy when I look at these numbers, which I think a good amount of our audience probably is. So this is why it's great to have a guy like you who's in the know. You can tell people where money is moving and why and all that good stuff. And then you get a guy like me who's probably like the guy on the other side of the screen thinking the exact same thing. So if you're like me, guys, you're going to be all over this plus 6.5 for Houston coming up in week 4. Patrick, any final thoughts for us here as we close out the week 4 opening line report? If you have anything to talk about with the Chargers and Texans too, feel free to throw that in the way out here.
Well, I'll tell you, early tickets 2-1, but money almost dead even on this game on the spread, with the tickets 2-1 Chargers, money much closer to even, slight lean toward the Chargers. I need to say, and I meant to talk to you about this beforehand, so I hope this isn't going to be a problem. I'm springing something on TommyFreezePops right now. I'm going to Chicago next weekend, and I'm going to be on a plane on Sunday night to get back to Vegas. Okay. So I'm hoping I'm springing this on you, Tommy. We're improvising here. This is live. I want to see if we can do the opening line report on Monday night. I'm hoping we can make that work. This is a terrible way to bring this up to you, because I totally forgot. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to be in Chicago, and I'm literally going to be on a plane while Sunday Night Football is going on and when it ends on the way back from Chicago. So if as long as Tommy here okays it, the opening line report for week 5 games will be next Monday night instead of Sunday night, and then we'll be back on schedule the rest of the season every Sunday night to give you a look. And with Monday night, if it works out, if Tommy can make that work around his schedule, it gives a day for these lines to kind of ferment a little bit and maybe give you guys a little bit more information on where things are at.
The early reports are that will be okay. We will give you guys an update on the lines for Monday night's opening line report for week 5 later on. We're looking at minus 150 for that happening at the moment. So
okay, but minus 150 is not bad. I'll take minus 150. It's better than like minus. It's better than like, saying the no is minus 150. I'll take yes minus 150 there. So, and again, my apologies for springing this on you right now. I knew I was going, and I meant to talk to you about it sooner, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot to talk to him. So we're just going to tell everybody right now that this should come together. Minus 150 that it does come together. Week 5 opening line report. Tabled till Monday night of next week, but please join us. I'll have even more information than I normally have because we've got an extra day of these games to get bet into and see where some of the early movement, more of the early movement comes in.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, people like a little on-air show meeting. People like to break down that fourth wall. So there you guys go. This is how the sausage is made. Sometimes people just kind of ask a question, and then we just decide, yeah, let's do it. That's gonna do it from us here tonight on the Vegas Insider YouTube channel, on the Twitter feed at Vegas Insider. If you are not subscribing to our either of our social media channels here, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and do that. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, follow Patrick on Twitter at PatrickE_Vegas. Follow me at ya boy TC Fresh, BOI TC Fresh. That will do it for week 4. We will see you guys on Monday night for the week 5 opening line report. We will talk to you guys soon. Patrick, have a good one, buddy.
Cali squeeze blood orange about to go down.
Water
to go down.
Much
like
needed
water.
after a bachelor weekend.
Oh, you need water. I need beer. So it's the Cali squeeze blood orange. Everybody have a good week. Thanks for joining us tonight.
We'll talk to you soon.